Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I never imagined the simple drive back from the grocery store would turn into a chaotic afternoon. I had just finished my weekly grocery shopping. I was driving home, humming along to the radio, when suddenly I felt a jarring impact from behind. My car lurched forward and my groceries flew everywhere. I was in shock for a moment, but I quickly regained my composure and pulled over to the side of the road. As I got out of the car, I saw the other driver storming towards me. She was a middle-aged woman with a haircut that screamed, "I want to speak to your manager," and her face was red with anger. She was waving her arms frantically. "Look what you did to my car!" she yelled, pointing to her slightly scratched bumper. "I did? You rear-ended me," I replied, bewildered. "Don't you dare talk back to me. I am going to call the police and tell them you caused this accident," she threatened, her voice shrill. Feeling a mix of anger and disbelief, I suggested, "Let's just exchange insurance information and settle this calmly." But she was having none of it. She continued to rant and rave, drawing the attention of passers-by. Just as she reached for the phone, a police car happened to drive by and noticed the commotion. Two officers got out and approached us. One of them, a stern-looking woman, asked, "What seems to be the problem here?" Before I could speak, the woman, who I had mentally dubbed Karen, started accusing me. "Officers, this reckless driver caused a huge accident and is refusing to admit it." I tried to explain that it's not true. She rear-ended me and I have a dashcam to prove it. The officer's eyes lit up at the mention of a dashcam. "Well, that should clear things up. Can we see the footage?" the other officer asked. Karen's face went pale. She started stammering, trying to come up with an excuse, but it was too late. I played the footage for the officers, which clearly showed Karen's car crashing into mine while I was at a complete stop. The officers looked at Karen, who was now trying to backpedal her story. The stern officer turned to Karen. "Ma'am, not only have you caused an accident, but you also attempted to file a false police report. You're gonna need to come with us." They handcuffed her while she was still protesting and calling us all the names that can be mentioned here. This happened a few years ago, and it's legal to record without consent in my state. Alright, some years ago I used to work for a major tech company. I had to move around floors a lot because I was in charge of the tech side of keeping business running smoothly for those that had to communicate with customers, clients, and so on. There was this one lady that was a bit of a problem and had a habit of being involved in a lot of terminations due to supposed harassment claims. I had to deal with her a few times a week, somewhat regularly. Now, I have some trust issues and generally view a workplace as a minefield and tend to have a "my colleagues are the enemy" mentality. I am paranoid/anxious, so sue me. Because of that, I record every conversation I have and have a recording going at all times. The recording pin I keep in my shirt pocket. It's got great quality. Story time. I was doing some work after completely replacing the computers and much of the tech on her floor, and I had to walk behind her and several other people who were at their desks working. One of the several keyboards I was carrying out of the confined space hit the back of her chair while I was walking and talking into my headset to a colleague. She turned around abruptly and glared at me but said nothing. I finished my work for the day and went home. Next day I get in, I'm met by security and taken up to the HR floor. She made a claim against me, saying I made a squeal comment and grabbed her inappropriately and I was being terminated. After everything is said and I'm handed the paperwork, I pull out my laptop and quickly pull up the camera feed, which has no sound. They say, "Well, there is no audio to cover you," so I say, "Well, actually I record everything I say or do while working here." I then slowly pull out the recording for that day and have them listen to all of it. The lawyer in the room had the saltiest look I've ever seen. Well, they lost their grounds to terminate me and I immediately filed an HR complaint and threatened to get legally involved. She was terminated a few days later. Around a week after that, they ended up going after her for embezzlement because they did a basic full investigation into somebody terminated and found she had been stealing company money through an expense card. It was apparently a lot because sometime afterwards she ended up doing time. It was a great experience and it justifies viewing your coworkers as enemies and recording them. Also, never trust HR. Edit, I removed the branding from the bin years ago, but I got it on Amazon for like $40. It's not voice activated though, it actively records at all times while on. Edit 2. How would he grab her if she was sitting? Well, the office chairs had gaps through, which is plausible. Also, my laptop wasn't a recording device. It had access to the camera system that surveyed every floor. I, 16 female, have always been an extremely picky eater. Not just in a I don't like vegetables way, but in a I only eat 5 things, and if I eat anything outside of those 5 things, I'll throw up way. Most nights I go without dinner and my mom does cook. Chicken, rice, meat, chops, mac and cheese, tacos, but most foods smell and taste weird to me, and I can't just carve it down. My body literally rejects it. I'm speaking to my doctor about ARFID. Anyways, I finally found a food I liked. They are called pizza crunchers. I got them for school lunch, found the brand and got my mom to buy them. They are perfect. I plan to eat these every night until my mom kept asking my little brother if he wanted some, and then he started liking them and started eating them for dinner too. I looked in the box today and there were barely any left. I got upset at my mom because this is the one thing I like. My brother eats all this other stuff, mac and cheese, nuggets, fries, whatever my mom cooks. And we had all those things in the cabinet for him to eat as well. So I said, can you not feed him my food? This is the one thing I will eat and he has heaps of other food he likes. Can I just have my one thing? She just responded by saying, I bought them so they are for the house. You should have eaten them faster. I feel like it's not always about who buys it. It's about the fact that now I have nothing to eat tomorrow. And my little brother still has all the stuff he likes sitting in the cabinet at the end of the day. This isn't he ate the last ice cream thing, it's like I literally won't eat anything else. The cereal is all gone. I shouldn't have to starve because my little brother wanted some too. Like, that's just not fair. Am I the jerk here? Edit. Don't be crapping on my mom too bad in the comments, y'all. I still love her and she's still a good woman. I don't get abused or neglected. I just feel like she doesn't understand the depths of my eating problems. She needs to be educated a little. And everybody makes mistakes, but like, don't be mean about it. And now some comments on the post. Someone saying you're not a jerk. Were your other 5 foods at least still in good supply in your house? You increased your tolerated foods by 20% when you added 1 item. You should have kept all 6 items permanently available if they are all you can tolerate, since that is such a low number. I'm impressed you made some progress trying things on your own. How have you survived 16 years on a concrete 5 foods without obvious organ damage and gross problems? Are 4 of the 5/6 things you eat beans, potatoes, butter, and beef liver? One of my old co-workers had ARFID. It was a real struggle. It took a good few years of therapy and work to get him from 8 mostly white foods to a couple dozen varied items, and they had to do regular blood work to find his neutral deficiencies. Keep working on it with your doctor. Another commenter adds, wow, a lot of people commenting have clearly never heard of ARFID. People who are saying you are the jerk are sounding like they think your restrictive diet is a choice you're making, instead of a mental health issue. I bet they wouldn't be saying stuff like this if you had to eat gluten-free stuff and your brother didn't, and he ate all of the stuff that didn't have gluten, leaving you without food you could safely consume. It's the responsibility of a parent to provide their children with sufficient food. Yes, your diet makes that challenging, but it's not an attitude problem. It's a health condition. You deserve to have enough food to eat every single day. I suggest you check out r/ARFID for an audience of people who understand where you're coming from and who might have ideas for how you can very slowly begin to consider introducing new foods into your diet. The third commenter goes with, not the jerk. I think a lot of the comments voting you are the jerk have a fundamental misunderstanding of ARFID. This is an ongoing medical emergency and they should be treating it with more urgency. Receiving enough nourishment at this age is important to ensure your health as an adult. If it's possible, take a look at the main ingredients, flavors, and textures represented in your safe foods. See if there are any patterns and try to find other foods that will fall within those parameters. Try foods with very few ingredients so you can isolate flavors and textures. Take it one bite at a time. As someone who had an ED in the past and presently has GI issues, eating can be really difficult sometimes, but the consequences of not receiving proper nutrients and calories over time are worse. I hope you get some medical help soon. I'm a long-time pursuer of this subreddit but have never posted this story because every time I think to, I'm busy or on my mobile. It's a longish story, so I always put it off, but I have the time now. Parties involved: store manager Mo, thieving assistant manager Jay, lead assistant manager BFF who is a store manager Travis. This story happens around 6 years ago when I worked for a retail company I will call No Op. Jay was well known to be a thief by the base staff and some of the lower levels of management. Unfortunately, she was a golden girl to Mo and Travis, and we never had any solid proof. We also didn't get paid, docked, and so on unless it was over a certain amount, which it never was, so staff never had a real incentive to try and find proof. One of Jay's favorite things to steal were vouchers for money, off products or shopping because you were just supposed to rip them up and put them in the safe. There was no official way of counting these to return them to the company so she could use them again in a different store and get away with it. This particular day was Halloween and I was on till 4, the only till with no cameras on it. Mo came up and paid for her shopping with some gift vouchers she had received at a store manager's meeting because the store was doing really well. I served her and no one else touched my till all day because I was the main person on the tills for this shift. We closed up for the night and Jay took the registers to be cashed up. I went out to the pub with friends and had a good night not knowing what was coming. The next shift I'm on, Mo calls me into the office and tells me that the vouchers she used were not in the safe and she knew that it was my till. She wanted me to return the vouchers and would not press charges or put anything on my file if I just returned them immediately. I of course did not have them and testified as such, but she didn't believe me. I went looking everywhere, the bin under till 4 and the bins outside, under the tills and on the floors around the tills, just in case I had dropped them or put them somewhere dumb while trying to sort out cash and so on. Roughly an hour later, Jay comes in. He hears what's going on and offers to look as well. She finds them in 30 seconds flat somewhere I had already looked. I essentially hissed out, what a coincidence that, as soon as Jay looks there, she finds it immediately. How coincidental. Seething with white fury, as I know she was now framing me for her own theft, she could have found them in the office and made it a simple mistake, but no, she made me the fall guy for her own idiocy. I tried to plead my case to Mo and Travis, stating that I wouldn't be dumb enough to steal vouchers that I knew were Mo's because I was the one who served her. One of the other team leaders, Paul, knew fine and well it was Jay and tried to tell Mo and Travis that I was being set up, but she was a golden girl and could do no wrong while my name was mud as far as they were concerned. Heck, they thought Jay had caught me in the act. This meant war. Over the next few months, I got really friendly with Jay, flirting outrageously with her and basically pretending like I really respected her and that we were good buddies. It took me a while to work my way into her trust, but once I was there, I knew I could catch her stealing and prove it. We wasted off a load of Christmas chocolate products that hadn't sold, and I put them in a bag to be put in the bin. Jay said we should take them home against company policy and seen as stealing, because they were just going to waste otherwise. We were stood underneath a camera, just outside of its range, so I said, I don't want any, but if you want them, you can have them, and put them on a trolley just inside the camera's range. I had studied the camera angles in great detail, preparing for a moment exactly like this. I saw her look at the camera, down at the trolley, and back to the camera before walking off to get her stuff. I warned my colleagues not to take any of the chocolate even if offered, and had an evil grin on my face which my colleagues commented on. When Jay came down, she nonchalantly picked up the bag as if it was her shopping, offered chocolates to everyone, and walked out the door with it. Gotcha, witch. The next morning I arrived for my shift and put on the most somber face possible as I approached Travis. You should check the cameras on the back door at approximately 10:21. I think you'll find what you see very interesting. He asked me to explain further, and I looked over towards where Jay was, not even 5 meters away, and looked back. I can't go into further detail right now, but I would strongly suggest you go and look at the cameras for that time now. Travis begrudgingly walked off to do just that, and within 10 minutes Jay was called into the office and her bag was searched. Within the hour she was suspended pending investigation, and within a week she was fired and barred from the store. I got a full apology from the managers who didn't believe me, who explained they genuinely believed it was me and had no idea Jay could have possibly been a thief. Their jaws hit the floor after I explained that every member of staff knew she was a thief, but that we didn't feel like we could do anything about it. After going around asking people if this was true, I got another apology. 6 months later, I was offered training to become a team leader myself. I took it, but ended up quitting for a white-collar role in a different company before I finished my training. This just happened and I think it belongs here. I just walked out to the local Mega Mart, having self-scanned 8 items, 3 pairs of some inflatable pool toys, and a pair of mesh bags of like 1,000 little chocolate eggs. I guess if someone was watching not too carefully, my action of scanning the same item twice and then putting both in the bag and area may have looked suspicious. But I had 8 times and the receipt had 8 items on it, 2 by 4 different things. I was carrying this all with the mesh bags on the bottom, sort of hanging from fingers, while the other 6 30 cardboard boxes were above them, supported by my hands. It was quite a handful. This was a good configuration to avoid the eggs. Had I piled them on top from sliding off, it's a long way down. I'd taken only a few steps out of the store when some psycho yellow-vested jerk comes running after me. "Sir, stop. What's up? Please put down the boxes." Me still walking. "Yeah, sure, my car is just over there." "Stop right there, sir. My car is like 20 yards over there. Follow me there and I will put it all down. The receipt is in my pocket." "Drop it now." "Drop it? What the hell? I am armed with some chocolate eggs, 2 plastic donuts, 2 floating unicorns, and 2 pool loungers. Drop it? You know what? Sure." Staring at this fool in the face, I dropped it all from exactly where I was holding them, giving a gentle tug to the mesh of the eggs, hoping it would break. And it did. And all of this crap went slamming into the ground, the 6 boxes smashing some of the eggs, while all the rest scattered all over the place, and many started instantly melting in the 5-degree heat. Seagulls appeared out of nowhere. I gingerly pulled out the receipt and I showed it to him, picked up my crap and walked to my car. But I took a picture of it and might send a description of what happened to the store management, and maybe they will care. But I told the guy, "Hey, you better take care of getting that cleaned up. There may be dogs and that's not good for you. Come on, man, hurry up. You're so good at keeping it locked down. Get on it." I'm at $16 or whatever the eggs were, but I couldn't care less. Edit. Wow, so many comments. Many the same, so I will address them here. As to why I didn't storm back in and demand to speak to someone and demand new stuff and so on, the fact is, for whatever reason, plastic floaties are packaged really well, in very sturdy, tight little shiny cardboard boxes with thick staples. I'm never sure why that is, perhaps because they are jamming a lot of volume into a tight space. Accordingly, the risk of whatever is in one of those boxes being damaged by dropping it is 0. Indeed, when I got home, apart from a few dents on some of them and some chocolate smears, the toys were completely fine. And that thought went through my mind when I dropped them, except for the eggs, of course. And that was the point. I was on my way home 30 seconds after the incident, back to a large group of people waiting for this stuff, especially a group of kids who wanted to get into the pool and couldn't. None of this was worth wasting any more time in the store. I've spent more time talking about it than how long the actual events took. For what it's worth, I doubt I could get my money for the eggs. I recognized what I did was impulsive and stupid. And even with his ridiculous drop-its, I'm sure I could have gently laid things on the ground totally unarmed. But in the moment, especially how it all went down, I didn't feel like it. And still, do not regret it for a second.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.